we know what President Trump says he wants, which is he wants everything to be manufactured in America, and he wants the world to pay for Atmanirbhar America. Now, Atmanirbhar America is militating against Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Yeah, one would have assumed that with China not letting up in any way in terms of its expansion of its military power, its influence, etc., and challenging the US in various places, that your wriggle room in this relationship with the US would have progressively expanded and they would have been more considerate of your own compulsions, Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Double M Dialogues. I'm delighted to have as my guest today Indrani Bagchi. I think she's well known to all of you. Been still with the Times of India?
No,
yeah.
I was.
Yeah. So, a reporter who has done some excellent work, and I still really look forward to your columns whenever I get a chance to read them. So today, Indrani, I thought we'll discuss, the Indo-US relationship.
Yeah.
This is something I would say, the way it has dramatically changed over the last 6 months is something astonishing to say the least. And in many ways, it is a defining relationship for us as a nation. So, at the start, would you like to lay out the contours as to where we were and where we are right now? And then we can speak more on that.
Well, thank you, Monty. This is an immensely pleasurable opportunity, and I spend a lot of time listening to your Double M dialogues. So the India-US relationship is kind of transformed over the last quarter of a century, and I'd say that the moment of transformation was the nuclear tests. Very ironic because we came under sanctions by the US, but it also gave us an opportunity to begin a conversation with the US on India's strategic thought, which until then had not really been taken into account by the US. Why we were building nuclear weapons, what did we see as our challenges. Anyway, for a few years we saw the dialogue between Jaswant Singh and Strobe Talbot. That started a sense of appreciation in Washington of what India is all about. Having developed that, we went in for the nuclear deal under a different president. But between Bill Clinton's second term and Joe Biden, this 25 years has been an exercise in the US and India, not only getting to know each other, but getting to know about each other, getting to make space for each other in their strategic universe. It has been a transformational period. As you remember, during the Cold War, India and the US were on different ends of the divide. For both to work together, for shared challenges, for converging, bringing together their strategic challenges, their opportunities, and finding common ground. That was a lot of distance covered, particularly in defense and security. We have moved like we never have. We have diversified from Russia, Soviet Union, and Russia really. Our weapons platforms. We have actually taken out. In fact, I think our strategic airlift capabilities now
largely
almost
American.
Is largely American.
C-130.
Correct.
The Chinook.
Chinook and Apaches when we get them. So that's a different. That signifies a level of trust that we didn't have before. I think India and the US exercise together more than any other two countries in the world. So, what happened? And we were with. I mean, in President Trump's first term, was actually good for
Yeah.
India. He, for the first time, a U.S. president actually called out China for its market distorting, predatory pricing economic activities. And he put in the first round of sanctions on China, which something that Indians have been talking about. Indians actually had been had taken the raw end of a lot of Western attention because we couldn't produce as cheaply or as efficiently, largely because ours were private sector and China's were all state-owned enterprises with so much of subsidies by the Chinese government that it was an unequal battle for everybody. And frankly, the decade before President Trump, everybody was literally basking in the fact that they got everything cheap
Right.
from China. Nobody objected. It took President Trump in his first term to actually call them out. To be fair, he even went after us for the S-400 buy from Russia by passing the CATSA legislation in the Congress. I think Indians explained their position that CATSA wasn't India's first choice, but that Western reluctance to sell us cutting edge air defense systems made us go to Russia. We didn't then want to give up our Russia relationship. We don't now. Anyway, with the Ukraine war, um, India found itself reasonably isolated. And this was, now we are in Biden's period. We were, because we got a lot of grief on the fact that we suddenly became an opportunist power
Right.
and started to buy Russian oil, which was cheap. And the point is that it was a lot of pressure. The point is that every other nation in the world has been opportunist at different points in their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, China is literally the world's most mercantilist, opportunist power. They didn't come in for the kind of criticism that India did, which was completely unfair. But be that as it may, we continued to buy because sooner or later the Biden administration came to the conclusion that if India was not buying Russian oil, the price of global oil would shoot over $100 a barrel. At that point, the entire coalition against Russia would just collapse. Anyway, cut to President Trump, and I think they started reasonably well. My sense is a little different, but we can talk about that later. Um, it started on a, and President Trump wanted two things. He wanted India to open up its markets. We are he talked about India being at the most tariffed, high tariff nation, and we are. I think there is no getting away from that fact. Over the years, we have piled tariffs on tariffs, and we are an unfair. We take an unfair approach to trade. So he wanted to open up India's markets. That was one. The second, uh, he has this interesting thing about bringing peace by punishing tariffs. Now, that's a difficult part for India to accept. We all know what happened after Op Sindoor. I think the biggest problem was for him. I think he felt first India felt offended. I mean, what he did on the last day of Op Sindoor was totally uncalled for, and breaching the kind of red lines that India has set, which was completely
Unnecessary, absolutely.
unnecessary, unnecessary, and also unfair to a partner that is so close,
Yeah.
that you have almost zero understanding of where that partner is coming from,
Right.
and whether it is a crypto deal with the Pakistanis, which in itself boggles the imagination. I mean, why would you do that? To saying, I mean, he's on his 49th assertion today that he stopped
He was instrumental in stopping the conflict.
in the conflict with the trade tariff threat. All of that left a very poor. Prime Minister has his own political compulsions, and it doesn't play well. I don't think President Trump understood that or cared, and I think it all sort of fell apart after the 17th June conversation between Prime Minister and President Trump, where I think Prime Minister was fairly tough in his messaging to President Trump that you literally don't deserve a Nobel Peace Prize, and this is definitely you had nothing to do with it. Things went swiftly downhill from there, in all respects. I think then President Trump really took it on him personally to go after India, go after the Prime Minister. So, at one level, it is a clash of two personalities. Two, I can't say similar personalities, but two personalities very conscious of themselves and their image. So that's at one level. At another level, Trump decided that India needed to be brought to heel, literally. And so whether it was illegal immigration, and to be fair, Indians form their third, and somewhere over the years, Indian governments should have taken steps to curb this kind of outbound illegal immigration. Whether it is trade, because of the tariffs just piled on. And while the first round of tariffs were higher than what we were promised in the trade negotiations, 25% was high enough, but we would have been able to live with that also. The second 25% was just an unnecessary punishment for no crime at all. Nothing that we were doing, which America wasn't doing, or Europeans weren't doing.
And even on the oil issue, actually, oil was not sanctioned.
No, and oil was never under sanctions.
So, in a sense, they had laid down a cap. As long as you
stayed under the cap,
you're okay.
You're okay.
So that means you've not broken any rule.
No.
You've not. So
No.
this is just
It's just punishment for punishment's sake.
Yeah.
It is rendered. It has had a huge impact on the Indian economy. Will continue to have an impact on the economy, particularly because it targets sectors that are very high employment generators,
like garments and things like that.
like garments, textiles, gems and jewelry, shrimp. So this was felt to be a huge blow. Then came the visa thing, where honestly a visa is a sovereign right.
They can
You can do whatever you want with the visas. That
but the fact is we are impacted the most again.
Correct. It was again, it was Indians. It was Indian. So India, as the country or as the state, was receiving one set of punishments. Indians, individually, were also feeling the heat, particularly with the visa curbs and everything. I don't know. I mean, we may have walked back a little bit. Somewhere, Prime Minister and President spoke. I think what really spooked them was that photograph in Tianjin with Xi Jinping and Putin. That photograph really spooked them, and then Prime Minister spoke to President, wished him on his birthday, and Prime Minister, I think, has also softened a little bit. He keeps sort of praising President Trump for every turn of the Gaza war or the Ukraine war.
On the peace process that
On the
he's
peace process.
yeah.
Ukraine war, I think there was some, I don't know whether India will be able to make a difference to the Ukraine war. Whatever it is, Prime Minister is softened enough to support President Trump.
Yeah, so two, three things over here, but one issue, of course, is that one you brought out the issue of the photograph, and I think that fundamentally, if you see, a large part of our relationship was built through the prism of China.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Even the Quad, you can say, was largely that was the glue that brought the Quad
Indeed,
together.
indeed.
And one would have assumed that with China not letting up in any way in terms of its expansion of its military power, its influence, etc., and challenging the US in various places, that your wriggle room in this relationship with the US would have progressively expanded and they would have been more considerate of your own compulsions, So this has been a strange sort of, I would say, an outcome where he seems to have, targeted us. While firstly these sanctions on China to a lesser degree, and somehow our position as a swing state is
Yeah.
not really being considered by him.
Absolutely. And in fact, the fact that he described the second round of tariffs as sanctions and not as tariffs puts a completely different complexion on them. And where do we go from here, frankly? I'd say that our first order of business should be to get a equitable trade agreement.
through.
Yeah. And I say equitable because it seems that every time a deal is sort of concluded, or negotiations are concluded, and they go up to the president, he just scraps it and says, I want more.
So it's a shifting goalpost also. Yeah.
So there is that. Then his famous unpredictability means that we don't know whether this will survive. I mean, look what the Europeans have to go through. They got a deal that said 15%. This week, the Trump administration has given a long list of demands that Europeans need to agree to. That completely undercuts the deal. So the Europeans, they don't know whether they're going or coming. Something similar with the Japanese. So then there are the Koreans who had to suffer the indignity of that ice.
So there's a credibility issue also.
So there is a question that everybody is asking is, what do you want? And because we know what President Trump says he wants, which is he wants everything to be manufactured in America, and he wants the world to pay for Atmanirbhar America. Now, Atmanirbhar America is militating against Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Yeah.
So we are. So there is that
friction. Yeah.
friction, and we are not quite sure where this is going to end up.
So on coming to more on the security side of the house, and I think one good side I would say is that the political uncertainty on the economic side somehow, at least as yet, has not translated itself on the military dimension.
No, it hasn't.
Exercises are going on, the engagement continues.
I think Yuddhabhyas had happened.
Yeah, I think even Red Flag.
Red Flag also happened.
All that is happening. So that's one. And secondly, of course, was also on the equipment side, where there doesn't appear to be any slowdown on transfer of equipment that is already contracted, signed for, etc. So you think that this siloization, I would say, is this workable in the long term, or at some stage they'll start impacting each other?
No, I think it's workable. I think it's workable because, frankly, defense sales is one thing, and we are literally one of the biggest customers. Who are they going to sell to? The Europeans are buying, but they haven't yet they're not one of the top buyers in the world. There is also dissent within EU, particularly Spain.
They want Atmanirbhar Europe. Yeah.
They want Atmanirbhar Europe, but also they are questioning Trump's line that they need 5% of their GDP to be put into defense buys, and all defense buys must come from America. The point there is, there are many people in Europe that are questioning, why do we need it? After Russia, what happens? So Europe is in a little bubble of its own. We know what our security threats are, and it is while the buys and while the defense relationship is on, the obverse part of it is that suddenly Trump has decided to be friendly with the Pakistanis in a way that raises questions,
Yeah.
old questions, questions that we had forgotten to ask Americans.
They've all come up again.
They've all come up again. Although I don't know if you noticed, there was this Defense Department statement on September the 30th about AMRAAM missiles to Pakistan. So yesterday the
There's some clarification.
there's a clarification that there's no new
Yeah.
AMRAAM missiles being sent, and these are only the spares. So I think somebody is waking up in their system also that we may have pushed India too far.
So, at the end of the day, even I was part of this process. I was a naval attaché in Washington from 2008 to 2011. And I had a ringside view over those years as, where we were, and those 3 years that I spent over there, where it went. And over 25 years, we covered a lot of ground, really.
A lot of ground.
Now, it seems to have fallen apart. It seems to have fallen off the edge right now.
Yeah.
And I think the general thinking is that it will get back at some stage or the other.
I think it will. Because there is a logic to the relationship.
Yeah, so there are underlying security, convergent security interests that no one can sort of, debate in that sense. But don't you think that the bad taste will linger for a long time?
For a very long
time. So to address that is going to take again a large an
very,
effort.
Very long time. And in fact, Indians within the system, within the government, they're naturally suspicious of America. It has taken this quarter of a century to overcome that suspicion. All those voices, all those suspicions are back. So no matter what happens, no matter how much we try, it's going to be a very long haul to get back to where we were. And that too not even 6 months ago.
Yeah. So I thought we'll end going back to sea, because of the dialogues and on the maritime side of the house. Big ticket change, if you ask me, that has happened in the Indian Ocean, so far as the US is concerned, I would say is Digu Sea.
Absolutely.
So in a sense that at least, and I think the final outcome has been quite good.
Yes. Yes.
Because we have always looked at the issue through the prism of the unfinished agenda of colonialism.
Of colonialism, quite right.
And I think right now we seem to have arrived at an arrangement which sort of satisfies all parties to quite an extent.
Correct.
So US presence in the Indian Ocean, this whole thing that, there are multiple pressure points right now, and a large part of that in the Western Pacific also. You see the US presence in the Indian Ocean firstly as sustaining? That's one issue. And there used to be a time that, that India used to be slightly uncomfortable with the US presence over here, but I think we went past that and we saw it as net positive in the whole thing. You see that underlying convergence sustaining itself again?
I do, actually. I do. I think it was in 2024 that India and the US started the dialogue on the Indian Ocean. It came in around the time of the settlement of on the Chagos Islands. But we still see the US as a positive presence in the Indian Ocean. Certainly, given what's going on in the Red Sea and the Horn of Africa. I think this is one area where the US will find it very difficult to get out of. They may get out of even Western Pacific. I don't see them getting out of this area.
So I think we've covered a lot of ground. Any last words that you'd like to say for our viewers in terms of this relationship?
Well,
I mean, is it? Do you think it's still going to be the defining relationship, for India in that sense?
Unfortunately, yes. I think it will be a defining relationship. I think everybody with a stake in both India's future and India's strategic outreach, that it behoves all of us to do what we can to repair the relationship. If we cannot repair the relationship, it should be a holding operation.
So
Until
you wait out the administration.
you wait out the administration, wait out this period. This is a rough period for us, and we are getting sort of attacked in every direction by the Americans. So, there are times in our history
You have to
where
hunker down and just.
you just have to hunker down and just wait it out.
Yeah.
So I think we are in the trenches again.
So thanks again, Indrani. Delighted to speak to you and look forward to many such conversations in the future.
Anytime, Monty. Thank you so much.